This looks covered in weeds. No fear though, I got a mud motor. Alright, so now we're gonna test the push-pull DIY push anchors. It's like a manual power pull. It's just a big long fiberglass stick with a handle and a metal tip on the end. So two different setups. One setup is just a straight 8-foot rod with a T-handle and a metal tip on the end, and then the other setup is two different sticks. Well, really three. It's, well, maybe even four. There's a 8-foot section, what looks to be a 4-foot section, 2-foot section, and then a 6-inch section. So that way you can change it up to whatever depth you need. Right now I just have it set up so that the 4-foot and the 2-foot and the 6-inch are together. That's one pole, and then the other pole is the 8-inch straight long one. And then they have female and male connectors. To secure it, let me get unsituated here. To connect it to the boat, I have a metal ring. Got these off of Amazon. They will be linked down below. They're stainless. They fit this rod just perfect. Will probably work for bigger or smaller rods. This is 550 paracord. Just have a simple loop-de-loop through there. This should be able to go through a cleat, through the handle at the top of the boat, or the two handles at the rear. This will also go through the cleat or anything else you may want to tie it to. We're gonna see how they work. This is gonna be the first time that I've used them, and we'll see how strong they are, how deep I can push them in. The bottoms that I'm in is either sand and gravel, or it's muck, like straight muck. So once we get in the weeds here, which we should be turning into, I'll get out the 8-foot, see if it's deep enough. The main thing that you got to think about when you're thinking of these push-in DIY anchors is that you have 3 different levels that you need. The first level is the ground, because you're going to be pushing it into the ground. So how deep are you going to go into your bottom? Then you have the water depth, that's number 2, and then number 3 is how much of this you need up above the water to be able to tie to your boat. So think of those 3 different things. So if your water's 5 foot deep, you plan on shoving it in the ground at least a foot or 2. Let's just say 2 foot. So that's 7 feet. And then you need at least 1 foot above the water, if not 2, 3, maybe even 4. So an 8-foot rod is probably good up to about 5 feet of water. After that, once you get into 6 or 7 foot of water, then you need to start thinking about a bigger pole. It's got all kinds of stuff everywhere. One thing to keep in mind with these poles is that they will probably sink. So that's why I got a white one, because I fish in dark, muddy water, so white will stand out the most. You get camouflage, you're gonna lose it. And black, if you drop it in the water, you're never gonna find it again if the water's murky. So if you fish crystal clear, white sand bottom, then maybe the black will be for you. Camouflage, I will never buy again, because if you buy a knife or a drink cup or anything like that and you put it in your tree stand and it drops to the ground, you're never gonna find it again. So camo never seems to work for me. So white or highlight orange is the way that I go with all of my hunting and fishing stuff now. Alright, so we're off the beaten path. We're back in a little spot area here where it's like 3-4 foot deep, very mucky bottom, so we're going to be able to push this in pretty far. And don't really know what all to really test. This is pretty calm waters, so it's not going to be testing any waves, current, or anything like that for now. But I want to see how good it sticks in the ground, how it feels to be anchored by 2. I'll probably do 1 first, and then I'll do 2. Probably permanently tie 1 of these to the bow, and then I'll just have to stick this rod through this this ring, and we'll see how it goes. So I'll throw the floaty out, you can see how I get it situated, and we'll go from there. gotta tie this to the boat first. So this will just be something that I'll keep up here at the bow. Maybe I can keep it someplace, but I'll have to grab this, put it through the hole. Now once I get in camera view, so I'm gonna have to put a screw through the handle or a bolt because my JB weld did not hold up good. So make sure that you guys JB weld it, and then I'd put a bolt through it with a nut and wash on the other end. I'll take you guys up there to see what it looks like. So that's just gonna slide around and down. We're not in too deep of water. This is probably 3 foot. I don't know if you guys can see, probably not. But that's how I'm going to use it. And then I'll do a second one at the back here, and I'll use that cleat. And then that way when the current or the wind's blowing, those two will be out there, and I'll have the current or wind push me this way. And that way you don't have any rub up or chafe against the boat, so you don't have to worry about that. So it seems like it'll work pretty good. It's just right now this JB weld did not hold good at all. So you can pop this handle off. So I didn't prep it good enough, or the JB weld was old. JB weld was probably really old. It was sitting in the counter for a while. So seems pretty flexible. That's probably a good 2 foot in. I'm pushing the boat up with it, so solid. Look at that GoPro doing nothing over there. Absolutely nothing. That's okay. So I think I'm gonna go try to find a tilapia bed and see if I can anchor up on it and how well it actually works. Put them into use, see what happens. So I'm gonna keep bow fishing, and we're gonna go find a tilapia bed. All right, so we found our first tilapia bed. There's a good sized one on it, so I'm going to try to post up with these anchors and see how well I can position for this bed, so that way once the fish comes back we can see if we can get it. It's only 2 foot deep here, but that's how far it went into the ground. Go ahead and put this one together just to get the max length. I want to see how far, how big this really is. I mean, this is pretty long. And it'd be funny just to see how much it'll stick up out of the ground. Pick up my trolling motor because it keeps hitting this and it's not going to stay quiet. Not the most stealthy approach. So that's what this one looks like. This is like 2-3 foot deep water. Very soft bottom. And that's a 16 foot and 2 foot of water. That goes down in the water like or down in the mud like 6 foot. This is a very soft bottom. So I have this set up like this. I just have it loop-de-loop tied, and then that's loop-de-loop tied to the stainless thing, and the stainless thing is just around the pole. Stainless ring, not thing, either or. Here I just have it around the cleat, to the stainless thing, and then to the pole. And I'm getting eaten up by skeeters. All right, so I'm gonna stay quiet and see if I can get this tilapia. Yeah, I'm just gonna pull that 8-footer and start trolling motoring. Yep, that's a full, that's what I was afraid of happening. Well, at least we can look at that JB weld and see why it did that. So that pole is out of commission now. Yeah, my son's gone, so that's gonna be it for bow fishing for now. So I gotta redo this pole. And then that pole is fine. Alright guys, so that's it. If you're interested in these DIY fiberglass poles where you can make them whatever length you need to or do with whatever you need to, this is by MGS Systems. So you can type in MGS fiberglass pole and they should pop up, or if you want you can go down to the description and get them. Just to recap again, right here, they come in all different sizes, but I just wanted to give you an idea on what all they do come in. They have 3 colors: camo, black, and white. And then they have 4 different sizes in that order. So quarter, half, 3/4, 1 inch. I use the 3/4. 1 inch would probably be nice, but the reason why I got the 3/4 is because you may be able to put in a power pole, a mini or micro. Do not know exactly yet. Daggum planes. So for today, they did pretty good. What I think I'm gonna end up doing is putting like a PVC, just use a regular saw blade and run the length of the PVC so that way I can clip it onto the side of my boat. And I'll probably make them 8 to 12 inch sections. And that's what I'll use for a rub, just so it's not metal on fiberglass, it'll be PVC on fiberglass. And that way I'm not worried about actually putting it on the pole itself. I'll just put it on the attachment points where I put the poles. And that way it's easier just to handle the poles themselves, especially if I'm changing lengths and just using different poles in different places. As long as I got the rub rail where I attach them to, then I should be good. So if you're interested, MGS Systems, different sizes, different colors. My word of advice for colors though is white for dirty water, so that way if you drop it in the water it does sink and you should be able to find it, hopefully. If you're fishing sandy clear, then you may need a black pole. So that's up to you, but that's my word of advice for size. 3/4 would probably be the best, no matter what. 3/4 is probably the smallest I would go. You can go the 1/2 inch, maybe for a kayak, but anything less than 1/2 inch, I don't see a purpose for using it as an anchor. The 1/4 inch just seems too thin. 1/2 inch, I would still think it's too thin, especially for a small Jon boat. For a Jon boat, definitely get a 3/4 inch rod. And that way, even if you want to, you could go up to that the Power Pro, I think it's a micro, and that's just like a battery unit where it just shoves you put the rod over the top, and it's electric where it just shoves it down and you're good. Manual, I have no issues with. I love it. The one issue I ran into was my JB weld was old and I didn't get a good seal. So I'm going to get that old JB weld off, sand it down again, and try to maybe prep it better, but just buy a new tube of JB weld and hopefully it'll work better the next time. One thing I will do now, since the JB weld failed, I'm definitely going to put a screw or a bolt through, so that way if it fails again, I at least have that bolt holding it in manually. So that's all I got for the push-pull. I keep calling them a push-pull, but they're really like a manual pull anchor. But I think I use them as a push-pull too, so you could probably do that also. But push-pull anchor, however you want to call it, I love them. They're going to definitely change the way that I fish. I can definitely stick them in and use them to fish the beds like I normally would, but instead of having to throw an anchor. So that's all I got for you on the MGS fiberglass poles. They're do-it-yourselfer fiberglass rods for your anchors, for your small boats, even a big boat. Just you go up to the 1 inch. So hopefully you like those. I know I will. And thanks for watching. This is JTgatoring.